As you just saw, I really like riding my motorcycle. But one thing the video did not show you is that I am the proud recipient of 2 iron butt certifications. I know, it sounds funny, but it's true. If you ride at least 1,000 miles in 24 hours, you can become an esteemed member of the Iron Butt Association. I am dumb enough to have done it twice. I think being ICBA chairman might be a little bit like being on an iron butt ride, but I promise to stay in it for the long haul, even when it gets a little tiring and a pain in the backside. When I ride across the country, I like to get off the interstate and onto the 2-lane roads whenever I can. One thing I've noticed as I ride through places is that where I see a community bank, I see economic activity and vitality. These are the communities where our banks are, where we live, where we play, and where we make memories. Did you know that we live in the only country in the world with community banks? No other country in the world has 4,500 banks. And thanks to the community banking model, our economy is more diverse with more small businesses and entrepreneurs than any other economy in the world. I also see towns where, sadly, the community bank in town has closed. Those towns are often dead or dying. If we lose more community banks, if we got down to just a handful of banks, like most other countries, does anyone really think our small businesses are going to continue to be served? We have the best banking model in the world, right here. But every day, we face new challenges, and lately, it feels like we're under attack. Sometimes it seems like the regulators and politicians want to make it harder to be a community banker. Just think about the CFPB, 1071, and their new take on representments and overdrafts. If we don't continue to fight for community banks, if community banks disappear, thousands of more towns are going to look like those towns I see on my motorcycle trips that don't have a community bank. Dying, declining, and losing hope. Even in the metropolitan areas that will have banks, small businesses will struggle because they won't be big enough for the big banks to care about them. I know you believe in community banking, otherwise you wouldn't be here at the greatest gathering of community bankers in the world. We cannot let community banks disappear. So what do we do about it? Join the fight. We can meet with our regulators and our elected officials. I mean, we all view meeting with customers as part of our job, right? Well, meeting with the people that make the rules we have to live by is part of our job too. And if you've just been sitting in your office complaining about how hard it is to be a community banker because of all the regulations, well, that does absolutely nothing. The time for excuses and hoping that other people will carry your water is over. There's a lot of water, and we need more hands. They cannot make good rules for us if they don't know what we do. And believe me, many of them have no idea what we do or how we do it. I know what you're thinking. Lucas, how could I possibly fit another thing into my already full schedule? I promise you, it's not just possible, but it's also a lot of fun. I have traveled to Washington, D.C. twice a year since 2008. I attend ICBA's Capital Summit and the Indiana Bankers Trip every year. Educating members of Congress about what we do as community bankers, why we do it, and how we do it is critical to creating and promoting an environment where community banks flourish. Thankfully, lobbying for community banking is easy because our businesses are honorable and just. When we go to Washington, we don't just lobby for the future of our banks, we lobby for our hometowns, where we raise our families, where we buy our groceries, and where we celebrate milestones with our friends and families. We aren't like the slimy and slick-haired lobbyist in the movies with shady dealings. We need more than just the community bank CEO to come to Washington. We need your staff, too. You may ask why, but when you do, envision this. When the damn credit unions go to D.C., they show up with something like 5,000 people. My point is, we can do better, and we must do better. Taking young bankers to DC is a great way to show them that there's more to community banking than their day-to-day job. It will make them community bankers for life. Plus, and especially in this job market, it's a great way to retain young talent. If you have not traveled to Washington, D.C. as part of ICBA's Capital Summit to lobby for the future of your community bank and your hometown, I am asking you this morning to do exactly that. And if you are the CEO of your bank and you're the only one that travels to D.C., I am asking you to bring someone else with you. I firmly believe we have an obligation to our shareholders, our employees, our customers, and our families to lobby for our community banks and the welfare of our communities. I was very fortunate as a young banker. I had a number of experienced Indiana bankers who took me under their wing and taught me how to lobby. Lobbying can be intimidating if you've never done it. If you have never lobbied, but you would like to, and you don't know any bankers in your state to show you the ropes, I would invite you to join me in DC at the ICBA Capital Summit. You can tag along with our group from Indiana, and I will personally share with you what I have learned from my fellow community bankers over the years. If you want to join me, scan this QR code, or you can email me at lobbywithlucas@icba.org. I'll wait and give you a minute to scan it because I'm not going anywhere. If you have a will, I will help you find a way. When we use our collective power, we get results. We have so many victories to celebrate thanks to the power of ICBA and our grassroots efforts. We had a huge victory this past year when the FDIC exempted the vast majority of community banks from the special assessment to replenish the deposit insurance fund after those big bank failures. The assessment rate is 13.4 basis points on uninsured deposits for 2 years. Do the math for your bank. This one piece of advocacy saved my bank just under $300,000. That $300,000 is capital I can use to make loans in my communities. That amount also pays my ICBA dues for the rest of my life, even if I live a while. ICBA is responsible for that exemption because we were the only national trade association to publicly argue for that exemption before it was announced. Our one mission, community banks, made it easy for us to take a strong position right after those banks failed, and we fought for that exemption the day after. Last summer, I had the privilege of speaking at the Kansas Community Bankers Convention. The comment period on the special assessment ended the day of my speech. While I was there, a fellow community banker who has been in banking for 35 years told me that he had, for the first time in his life, submitted a comment letter to the FDIC. He told me just how good it felt to speak up for his community bank. So I want to encourage all of you, if you have not taken part in our grassroots efforts, please join us and experience that same feeling. It is never too early or too late to start. You just have to start. We do good, and we are here for good. But being here for good requires action to ensure a bright future for our community banks and our communities. It is a real privilege to be on this stage before you as your incoming chairman. Over the last couple of years, several people have asked me why I'm doing this. My kids have asked me what the chairman does. They originally thought I was just going to be pushing in people's chairs. I've told them I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but I'm still not sure they believe me. I am doing this because I believe community banking is essential to the economy and the communities we serve. We provide local jobs. We help people reach their dreams. That is important enough to me to take the time to lobby for all of our community banks. And being your chairman is the best way I know of to be an advocate for us. As I said, I learned to lobby from some wonderful Indiana bankers when I was younger, and I would like to recognize them. Mark Schrader, Joe Pierce, Bill Herod, Dave Geis, and Ryan Warner. Mark, Ryan, and Mike, I know you're here. Would you guys stand up so we can recognize you? Some of them have retired, but they made it here to see my start as chairman, and I appreciate that very much. They're also the reason I would like to pay it forward on teaching people to lobby. There are a lot of other people that I would like to, that have made it possible for me to be here, but there are a few that I want to mention specifically. Joe DeHaven and Amber Van Til, thank you for getting me involved in the Indiana Bankers Association early on. My entire management team is here. Not only do they keep the bank running while I'm gone, but they're neck deep in a core conversion right now. If you see somebody leaning back and forth in the corner, it may be part of my management team. My mom and dad took me to ICBA events when I was a kid. Apparently it stuck because I'm still here. My in-laws, Sandy and Terry, they have kept our kids and dogs more time than I can count. And most of all, my wife Sue and our 3 young boys, Lyric, Oliver, and Graham. Sue has traveled with me on almost every trip and still keeps everything running at home. And the boys have taken it in stride every time we're away. And Graham was nice enough to draw me a couple good luck charms this morning before I came on stage. I feel very fortunate to have so much support, but I also feel so fortunate to work for something I believe in. It is a privilege to be a community banker every day because we help people. So when we roll out of bed in the morning, remember, we don't have to go to work. We get to be community bankers, and we get to help our customers realize their dreams. That is worth fighting for. Come to DC. Come to DC for the Capital Summit and join me for the ride. Thank you.